Apple is one of the most valuable companies on the planet currently, and most people think that just the iPhone is what gives money to Apple. But trust me, Apple has actually built an ecosystem around your digital life such that when it comes to phones, laptops, iMacs, iPads, subscriptions, paid apps, and warranties, Apple Pay, and all of these things collectively is how Apple makes money. So in this particular video, I'm going to break it down, and make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and without wasting much time, let's jump into it. First, let's start with the obvious, the iPhone. Now, every single year, people are in a hurry to upgrade their phones. And for some people, it's not necessarily because they genuinely need to upgrade, but for the sake of, flex, and because yes, it's new, so they want it and they just go and get it. And also, Apple has a way of dropping new iPhones. So about a year ago, the iPhone 17 range came out. Previous years before that, the 16 Pro range came out. And so you realize that at every single point in time, Apple is upgrading and updating and ensuring that you actually want more. And for a lot of people that have their needs insatiable, they almost always go get it. Also, no matter how expensive the iPhone is, Apple isn't really in a competition to tell you how cheap or affordable they are. No, they're okay with their pricing because they've made it feel like a premium brand that you would want to associate yourself with. And for human psychology, it almost always works. Now, the iPhone alone contributes to almost half of Apple's total revenue, and which is crazy if you actually think about it. One product, almost half of Apple's total revenue. That is interesting. Apple is actually investing in selling you the whole ecosystem. You see, Apple doesn't want to just sell you an iPhone and then go scot-free. They will sell you the iPhone, sell you the AirPods, sell you the AirPods Max, sell you the MacBook, iPads, iMacs. Literally everything in the ecosystem is meant to keep you glued. And you see, the thing is, once you fall into the ecosystem, everything becomes connected and centralized. And personally, that is the reason why I love this particular ecosystem. And before long, you realize that you are dependent on multiple devices on the same ecosystem, and they are all speaking the same language. And sometimes it's actually difficult to leave because yes, I've been using a MacBook for the past 6-7 years, and eventually you give me a Windows machine and you expect me to use it for the next 6 months, and I'm like, come on, this is not my ecosystem. How do I easily and seamlessly transfer my files across all these devices? And eventually, the more Apple products you own, the more money Apple makes. Services, which is more or less the quiet money maker. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. Apple has discovered something very powerful. They've realized that hardwares are okay, but subscriptions are even better. Over the years, they have actually built an entire service business based on this model. So there's Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, iCloud Plus, Apple Arcade, which is more or less for the gamers, those who love Apple games. They are all the Apple Arcade. It's very good for you. There's also Apple News Plus, for those who are interested in news items collated by Apple themselves. Then there's also Apple Fitness Plus for those of you using the Apple Watches. But those of you using Apple Watches, you realize that Apple Fitness Plus is available for you if you want to check your health over a longer period, get access to doctors and specialists to be able to aid you and assist you. That is also another ecosystem on there. Then finally, there's AppleCare, which is more or less an insurance model that helps you either get replacements or get repair up to a certain value for free, of course, depending on the region that you find yourself in. So you realize that after all these things, people are paying for all these things every single month. And yes, you may think you are paying just $1 or $1.99 or just let's say $2. For you, it could be small, but imagine the millions of transactions going on across the world. Calculate all of them together. Let's say $2 times 1 million. That's a very interesting number, and that is how much money Apple is making in any particular given time. Now let's talk about the App Store, which is more or less like a gold mine. Because yes, you need that smartphone. Developers are going to develop apps specifically for that smartphone that you're using. Now they're going to host it on Apple's ecosystem, Apple's App Store for users to download. Now for a lot of commercialized apps, depending on the number of downloads or any purchases that go on through the app, based either on subscriptions, one-time payments, etc., Apple makes a percentage off of that. Talk of games, streaming apps, dating apps, productivity tools, premium subscriptions, and yes, every single day billions of dollars are running through the App Store alone, and that has actually made the App Store one of Apple's biggest money banks. Then wearables, no, not these ones, but the smart Fitbits, Apple Watches, etc. Now this is also an ecosystem for a lot of people who are fitness conscious, or more of people who don't want to live sedentary lifestyles, and so they want to be on the move, active, engaging in sports here and there. This is your place where you shine. And for a lot of the accessories, including AirPods, Apple Watches, Beats headsets, Apple AirPods Max, and a lot of other ones, either in collaboration or in partnerships with other brands, you realize that eventually Apple is making money off of you, either by virtue of you purchasing their hardware directly or subscribing to a particular service that comes with that accessory. For example, when the AirPods came around, a lot of people never thought they actually needed it, but now everybody literally has one, and because it fits perfectly with the ecosystem, with my AirPods 2 Pro 2nd generation, which I got from MK Gadgets, you realize that it fits with my iPhone, it also fits with my MacBook, and if I want to switch to the iMac, it's able to do that as well. Then let's talk about Macs and iPads. So the iMac over there, yep, and then iPads. I mean, I don't have an iPad. I had one, I sold it, but I thought I don't need it. Okay, so you realize that all these particular products, it may not necessarily bring all the excitement that the iPhone actually brings, but for a lot of businesses, creative directors, creative freelancers, actual videographers, photographers, people who love this particular ecosystem, this is one of the main go-to computers, or yes, mainly computers for a lot of them. And you realize over all the different ranges, Apple has made something for every single person. So we talk of the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro, the M5, M3, M1, etc. There's the MacBook Neo, iMac Mini. They have something for every enterprise tier for their audiences. And then again, every single year, they either upgrade on the hardware and ensure that they are selling them, which of course a lot of users are going to jump on. Then there's another money maker here, Apple Pay. For example, in Ghana and then other parts of Africa, Apple Pay doesn't necessarily work that well, but in US, Canada, Germany, and other parts of Europe, you realize that a lot of people that are used to the ecosystem are literally almost always using Apple Pay. And yes, it's just one tap and then something gets paid for. And you realize that at every point in time that you are making a payment, Apple is taking a percentage of that amount. Now, collectively, once again, imagine they are taking, let's say, $0.99 on maybe a $5 or $10 purchase. Multiply that by about 1 million other people across the world who are also making payments with Apple Pay. Let's say in a day, averagely, how much is that? But you see, outside of all these product services here and there, you realize that the actual hero is the brand Apple itself. Yes, you can have the iPhones, iMacs, etc. But once you mention the brand, in fact, at a time, whenever somebody sees you, they want to look at the back of your phone, see how many cameras you have, and then measure the level of respect that they want to give you. And no matter how shitty you may understand it, it doesn't happen in the Android ecosystem. This is because Apple has invested so much in trust, in loyalty, in status. And so if you have the orange iPhone, everybody now thinks, oh, you have money, you are the Don, you are on top, that kind of thing. Such that people will now go and then buy stickers for their iPhone XR. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here, guys? And for a lot of users, even for a lot of those that barely use any of the value in their Apple products, we are still loyal and we stay with them for many, many years. We recommend them to our friends and family. We resell, of course, because it has a high resale value. And you realize that a lot of us are meant to get stuck within the ecosystem. For example, imagine you've used an iPhone and you've used a MacBook for about 10 years and eventually you are switching to Windows. That transition becomes a bit of a challenge. It's not comfortable, and I know some of you can attest to that. So we know how Apple makes its money through the iPhone, the iMac, the iPads, subscriptions, the App Store for wearables, a lot of them including Apple Pay. So you realize that eventually Apple is selling convenience, they are selling loyalty, they are selling status, and they are selling the whole experience. And all this explains why a company that started in a small garage somewhere is now worth billions of dollars. And honestly, the next time anybody says it's just iPhones, I think we can all stand together and say that that's just a small part of the whole story. I'm glad you enjoyed this. I'm sure you learned something new. Do want to let me know what you think in the comment section, or you can send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at Perry Tintin, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Until then, adios.